Almost live from Dunkirk, New York, it's Revitalize Dunkirk tonight. Welcome everybody. I'm Valerie Champlin, here with the president of Revitalize Dunkirk.
Hi, I'm Jim Fisher, the president or El Presidente of Revitalize Dunkirk.
And we have a special guest tonight, someone that we know very well. He's the treasurer of Revitalize Dunkirk, and his name is Steve Rees.
Hello.
Hi Steve, how are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you for having me tonight.
Good. We were on hiatus for quite a while, but we're back. There was a clamoring of our fans from Dunkirk, France, from Cuba, Bulgaria, and the entire state of Kansas.
Oh.
They were just hankering for us to return, so we're back. How about those Bills?
Bills?
Oh, they weren't in the Super Bowl this
yeah.
year, were they? Congratulations to Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, let's get that right.
It's a pleasure to welcome our special guest, Steve Rees, here tonight. He's going to be talking to us about the tree management plan that the city of Dunkirk has. He's been involved in that, and he's very knowledgeable. One of the things he's very proud of is the fact that not only is he a retired professor from SUNY Fredonia, but he's a master gardener, and he's a master of his fate also.
I suppose.
And he doesn't know this, but I have his 12-page curriculum vitae, and I'm going to read every line from it.
That's good, because I've actually forgotten most of that at this point in my life.
Anyway, Steve is our towering sycamore of a man in Revitalize Dunkirk.
Wow.
And he's been involved with Revitalize Dunkirk, just like Jim has, from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
And so tonight we're going to be, again, talking about the tree management plan. And the first thing I'd like to ask Steve, and he was kind enough to prepare some talking points for us, is what is the City of Dunkirk's tree management plan, Steve?
Well, it's really a program that has been developed through the efforts of the City of Dunkirk and an organization known as the Davy Resource Group. And the Davy Resource Group, you may have seen over the last summer a number of their pickup trucks and other vehicles around town. But what they were doing were taking a look at all of the trees that are located on the city rights-of-way, in city parks, other trees around public facilities. They did not look at, and I think this is really important to note, they didn't look at any trees that are found on privately owned property.
Right.
So if you have a really lovely sugar maple in your backyard, they didn't look at it. Or if you have a dying silver maple in your backyard, they didn't look at it. But what they did do was to inventory around 9,800 specific sites, and that included about 6,700 trees. And
It's a lot of trees.
it's a lot of trees and quite a number of stumps. And then they also looked at about 3,200 empty spaces where, in theory, trees could be planted at some point in the future.
Right.
So that inventory resulted in, and I'll just hold this up so you can all see it. This is the 54-page management plan that the Davy Resource Group has put together, and it is very, very comprehensive and contains just about every piece of information you'd want to know about any of our street trees and their condition, and proposals as to what to do to support them.
Right. Overall, what did they find overall in summary? I know I read the report.
Yeah.
Jim read the report, and of course I was interested in the executive summary. But in terms of the overall conditions of the trees.
Well, there's some positive and negative things that we can say about those, and really, the positive things is that out of all of these trees, they're generally considered to be in fair condition
Fair,
overall.
right.
As opposed to having nothing but dead and diseased trees and things that are really beyond help. Then what this means, being in fair condition, is that there are a number of trees that are in superior condition. And of course, then there are a lot of dead ones and things that need significant pruning
Steve,
and that kind of thing.
I have a
as well.
question. Why would they worry about stumps? I was curious with that.
Well, a stump is a place that, obviously, there used to be a tree there, and for whatever reason, it was taken down. But that stump represents the potential for, at some point in the future, grinding that stump out, remediating the soil, and then planting something back in that place. Because if the tree thrived there to begin with,
Right.
then it's another opportunity to put something back in there at some point in the future.
I noticed that in the report, they commented quite frequently about the seemingly lack of variety of trees.
That's true, and that's one of the negative features. But I think I should say something on the positive side,
Please.
and that is that the trees that we have actually provide a significant number of benefits, just as they are, because they're doing somewhere in the neighborhood of $54,000 worth of carbon sequestration.
Right.
They're removing a lot of particulate matter.
Right.
They are creating oxygen because, trees take up CO2.
Not these.
Not these, no, these are fake. These guys don't do that.
But it's a nice idea.
Yeah. So there actually are benefits to the existing.
Yeah, and it's very interesting how they attach a dollar figure
Yeah,
to the
I
benefits.
was quite amazed by that
Yeah.
too with it.
And I'll be honest with you, I haven't delved into the formulae that make that comprehensible. I think if anybody's really excited about that, I suppose I should be excited about it. But I think if you're really interested, you could go and read that report because it's a public document and it's available in
Right, there is
the
a few
development
copies,
office.
yeah.
I would say the vast majority of members of Revitalize Dunkirk are tree lovers and supporters.
I'm a tree hugger. I don't.
But that is, so am I. But that isn't everyone in the city of
That's true.
Dunkirk.
That's true.
So the dollar figure then helps explain not only the health benefits, but the conversion into dollars and cents
Right.
does make sense to some people.
And there are some more numbers that we can talk about, a little bit down the road here. But speaking of the kinds of things where we're lacking diversity, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about numbers and statistics and all of that, but I will. Approximately just about a third of the trees that we have that are in some kind of condition are a member of the maple family. We've got sugar maples, Norway maples, silver maples, and that sort of thing. And of those maple trees, the silver maple and the Norway maple take precedence. And the problem with both of those trees is that I hesitate to use the word invasive, but their main problem is that they are so prolific in the amount of seeds that they produce, and if those seeds actually get started and develop into trees, then the density of the leaf cover really shades out any kind of opportunity for understory smaller trees or shrubs to grow, and so what you end up with is a forest of just Norway maples or a
Right.
forest of silver maples.
And
or
it
what
seems
have you.
too that a lot of folks, like in their yards or whatever, they tend to go towards a maple tree to plant or whatever. It just seems.
Many are fast growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, if you look around town, just about every street has a maple tree of some sort. Like I used to have 6 silver maples in my yard, and they're all gone now, thankfully, after falling on my house and whatever.
Oh.
But the thing is that there are so many other species of trees that are actually preferable for street use and for the urban tree forest. If
Now,
you
you
will.
mentioned right-of-way, and right-of-way is that little section
It's what I call the hell strip. It's
Right.
it's the place where the snow plows plow up all the salt and corruption
That's
and stuff.
right. That's right.
And it's real hard to grow grass there. It's hard to grow weeds there. It seems to grow used vehicles and trash cans more than anything else.
Right.
But it's that space between the sidewalk and the street.
Right.
And so the survey didn't go beyond those.
Also,
limits.
that's where they have all the utilities too, as far as water lines and like that too.
That's, although, you know, a lot of that's also found in the streets themselves. It depends on what part of town you're in.
That's true.
As to where that infrastructure lies.
I love the expression urban forest, and I know one of the books I brought from home is titled
How curious is
Urban
that?
Forests.
How about that?
It's a great expression, and it talks about all the issues that are contained in the report.
Yeah. It's not a book, by the way, that I'm particularly familiar with, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
So you have something to read tonight when you get home.
Oh, I have plenty of things to read when I get home tonight. I guess I'd say there's a couple of other negative features that we should talk about just so that
Sure.
we know about the real state of the forest. And that is about 41% of the trees are either dead or have a significant amount of dead or decaying limbs on them.
And they also identified insect problems.
There are indeed
Right.
problems with emerald ash borer here. I would suspect, and I would say in 5 years, we won't see ash trees around anymore.
But that's not a problem specific to us. It's everywhere, isn't it?
That's everywhere
Yeah.
in western New York.
Right.
But there are some other invasive beetles that are coming along.
Whatever happened to the gypsy moth? Remember the horrible
You know, I
gypsy
don't know. I
moth
think
problem?
they're probably still around someplace. Because Lord knows you don't kill off those
They
kinds
really
of...
Well, they are
Decimate.
gypsies, so they just.
They probably got in their little caravan and went away.
That's
Now,
right.
that was 20 years ago
Yeah,
or more.
yeah.
But
Well, you know, the other one of the interesting tables in here was a discussion of the various kinds of insects that are found and that there's evidence of having been in these trees. And down at the very bottom of the list was a discussion of elm trees, and there are essentially no more elm trees because of the Dutch elm disease.
Right.
And so they're
It
pretty
is-
much gone.
Would they be able to be planted and come back, or is it
Well,
just that?
there are, the American elm has been hybridized, and there's some success with a smaller version. I think I believe it's called a Triumph elm,
Wow.
but it's been hybridized and it's resistant to Dutch elm disease.
Oh.
So, I know over in the university campus, when there was some new landscaping taking place, they planted some of those, and they seem to be in reasonably good shape at this point.
what were their recommendations for the city of Dunkirk?
Well, there's a lot of things, actually. And you understand, this can't all happen at one time.
Right.
Essentially, the trees have been classed as either being at extreme risk, or at medium risk, or low risk, or even no risk. And
Healthy.
but those trees that fall into the category of being at extreme risk should be the ones that are that we attempt to remediate first, and that's where the emphasis in a 5-year program of removal and maintenance and pruning comes in. That's the first year should, in theory, address all of those trees that are at really extreme risk.
Right.
And that means doing a significant amount of removal. It means coming in with a certified arborist company.
Right.
And actually doing appropriate pruning, because unlike what a lot of people think, pruning is not just lopping a branch off here and cutting another one off there, and cutting one off here, whatever. There's actually a lot of thought and consideration.
Well, there's an
that
art
has to
and a
go in.
science to
There
it.
is, yes, and if you do it incorrectly, oftentimes you leave that tree wounded in such a way,
Right.
because it is a wound, and it's wounded in such a way that now you've allowed access for insects
Right.
and other kinds of problems to get into it, to cause it to die off or whatever.
One of the exciting things in the report is are the plans for planting trees.
It's true. And over a 5-year period, it is possible that just about on an annual basis, somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 trees or so would want to be planted in sites that specifically the city selects. And there's a whole list of criteria about where you can and where you can't plant a tree. I mean, you can't plant a tree within so many feet of a driveway, within so many feet of a stormwater receiver, on top of a electric line.
I thought you were going to say on top of Old Smoky.
Well, you get the idea. So there's a long list of criteria as to
Right.
where you could put things and where you can't. And a lot of it has to do with height and the fact that the city of Dunkirk has a lot of overhead power lines,
Right.
cable TV lines, telephone lines, all of that. So there are a lot of trees that right now are inappropriate to those areas. And you've probably all seen them as you drive up and down the street, where you've got a kind of nicely shaped tree and the center of it is cut out
For the utility
to let the utility lines
I know.
run through it.
It makes me sad when I see that.
So, in a situation like that, you would look for a tree that has a bit lower growing or shorter growing habit. Whereas on a street where you don't have any of those things, you
Right.
can go look for something that's significantly
And one of the
taller.
fascinating things in the report, to me, are the lists of trees that are native to this area. And those lists are invaluable for
It's
people.
true. And I'm always a little bit hesitant about saying, well, we must plant nothing but natives. And actually what you really want to do...
You want a mix.
You need to have a diverse mix.
Yeah.
And native doesn't mean it only grows in Chautauqua County.
Right.
Native, in the fairly loose sense of the term, means everything within about a 400-mile
Right.
radius.
Western New York.
Into Ohio.
The zone is important, the hardiness
Right,
zone.
hardiness zones are important.
Right.
And we happen to be in zone 5B, I think it is, given our minimum temperatures and
Right.
our higher temperatures. And all of those things enter into it.
Considering global warming, we will be planting palm trees soon.
We will be in zone 8 fairly soon. But there are any number of trees, and one of the interesting things that my wife and I learned as we were taking as we went to a lecture by a gentleman by the name of Doug Talemi. He's and I wish I could remember the name of his book. I think it's like At Home with Nature or something. That's either the name of the book or the color of the paint on our house. I can't remember which. But there are all kinds of reasons for selecting trees that, in addition to being, say, native to the area, also provide good habitat for all kinds of beneficial insects, pollinators, caterpillars,
Right.
that sort of thing. And so if you were right now wanted to run out and buy a tree to put in your front yard, you would probably want to select something in the oak family, which will, in theory, provide habitat for up to as many as 400 species of insect, caterpillars and wasps and what have you. Whereas if you go out and you decide to buy a ginkgo tree, which is really pretty,
They're pretty.
They're very pretty. They have nicely
They
shaped
smell
leaves.
bad.
I've never actually smelled one. They have really great color in the fall, and not a single thing lives in a
Oh,
in a.
So it's like a junk food tree.
It kind of is, yeah.
that's funny.
But anyway, so you have lots of options as the city is going through this process, and ultimately there will be a tree management. What's the word I'm looking for?
Matrix?
No, it'll be a group of people who come together
Oh.
as a committee and
A cult.
a cult. Yes, a cult of personality.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Look out.
Anyway, there will be, hopefully the city will be able to put together a committee that will be able to make recommendations and that sort of thing about how to move forward in this 5-year plan.
How did you get involved, and what role do you see Revitalize Dunkirk perhaps playing down the road with this plan?
I guess we got involved because very early on, and this actually goes back to the days before Revitalize Dunkirk existed, there was an organization known as Academy Heights, the Academy Heights Neighborhood Association.
Hello, Skeeter.
Hi, Skeeter.
She's watching
Wherever you
on
are.
YouTube.
She came up with a neighborhood project just for the Academy Heights area, which is essentially in the 2nd ward in the city, but it involved getting neighborhood members, property owners, to agree to have trees planted in the vacant areas in their hill strips. And they could either, there were, I think, 3 different types of small trees or shrubs that they could get. And
I didn't know about that. I hadn't heard about that one.
Sam Mancuso was very, very helpful in selecting appropriate street trees. And there was help from the Lakeview Shock and Correctional Facility. They came and dug about 250 holes, and
They look like forest workers with their green
yes,
outfits.
it's true. But they dug up. There was permission to plant about 250
Wow.
of these little bare root trees
Well,
that are
yeah.
only about 14, 18
Yeah.
inches tall, and a lot of those didn't survive. I would guess perhaps as much as a third didn't survive, or people tore them out or ran over them with the lawnmowers or whatever.
Whatever.
But we selected a particular tree called a katsura tree, which has now, the silly thing is about 20 feet tall and about 8 feet in diameter.
Wow.
Wow.
And it has really nice 3-season color.
Oh,
and,
that's not
and
great.
all of that sort of thing.
So that's
that's
wonderful.
where we really got
Okay.
started. Then, as you mentioned, my wife and I became master gardeners,
Right.
and there's a whole thing about trees and dealing
Of
with
course.
trees in that program.
Well,
But anyway, we just got interested in that, and we're just really kind of interested in how we really need to maintain those forests because from an environmental standpoint, they're really kind of the linchpin of so many things. So
Sure.
many, I mean, they provide habitat, they
course.
provide all of these, the production of oxygen, there's so many things that they provide.
we love trees.
We do love trees.
And I think it just would make our city as a whole look a lot better with a
Right.
lot of
And
green
I see
trees.
some cities have this city is an American tree city
Yes, and-
designation.
Right, and actually Dunkirk is working toward that.
Oh. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline for that would be, but the Office of Economic Development has a couple of people there who are very enthusiastic
Oh,
about
great.
moving forward. with
That's
that sort
good
of thing.
news. And Revitalize
And
Dunkirk?
Revitalize Dunkirk. Our particular efforts are to, within Revitalize Dunkirk, there's a committee known as the Beautification Committee. And those of you who live in the city have probably been aware for the last few years that there are hanging baskets up and down Central Avenue, 4th Street, et cetera. And that's the Beautification Committee and Revitalize Dunkirk who purchased all those baskets, donated them to the city, We provide the planting material and have all that work done by a local greenhouse.
And we planted trees last year.
And we planted trees. We did a small project. We did 3 trees over at Batan Avenue. And
maintain
occasionally,
those
yeah.
welcome signs
Oh, we
to
do
the
all of
city.
those too, yeah.
Yeah.
So that beautification committee is a pretty busy bunch of people. And
Very
there's
busy.
about 10 or a dozen kind of hardcore people at the middle of all of that. And we're getting older and we need help and our backs don't hold up very well. But at any rate, one of the things that Revitalize Dunkirk wanted to do when we learned that the Economic Development Office was looking for some support to go forward with the grant to get the funding to do this project.
Correct.
We were approached because, well, they know about us.
Right.
And
Well,
they
we're obvious these
yeah,
days.
and they come to us if they need support for like the Complete Streets program.
Right.
Or if they need some help with advocating for name a project. We've probably written a letter of support.
Right.
Oh,
At least a few.
the Route 60 Main Street improvements. We wrote a letter of support for that as well. So they came to us and we wrote a letter of support saying this is a really good idea and you guys should give the city of Dunkirk some money. That would be the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's how we got involved with it.
And
Well, it's exciting. It's something that we can all look forward to seeing.
It is.
Developments down the road.
actually, the beautification committee would like to continue planting a few trees every year and like that.
We would, and of course, we're a not-for-profit, which means that we aren't hugely bankrolled. We go off and we look at granting opportunities, and so we'll write a grant for a small amount of money, and we've been successful with a couple of different granting agencies in the last couple of years. And so that's where we got the funding to do the trees and the follow-up maintenance and the mulch and all of those things that go into planting a tree. And that's an ongoing kind of project. So we're always looking for granting opportunities, and we're seeking one now that we hope will tie into this plan, and that we would be able to facilitate a small percentage of the overall plan that they're looking for. I mean, we're not going to be the ones planting 75 trees a year.
Right.
We're going to be the ones planting 5
Right.
or something like that.
Right.
But we will be doing it under the auspices of the city, because they'll be selecting the site and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's their ball game, but in a
It's
sense,
their
but-
ball game, but
We're supportive.
we're
Yeah.
supportive. It's our bat
Right.
or something. I
Is
don't
there
know.
anything else with regards to the tree management plan that
Well-
you were hoping to cover tonight?
Well, I think, yes, I have this 3-page document.
Let me read it verbatim.
Let me just read this to you. No, I think one of the things that I think is particularly important is the benefits of having a healthy urban forest. And there's like a half a dozen points here. We've touched on them a little bit. Obviously, it produces oxygen. But the amount of pollution that's removed from the atmosphere by a healthy forest is significant. The other thing that's important is that a tree or a well-developed shrub is going to act as a mini reservoir for stormwater runoff.
Correct.
Because that in a rainstorm, you're going to have water flowing, but you have tree roots that are going to start to take up that water, and a lot of that water is going to be retained in the tree itself and then slowly goes back out into the atmosphere. Whereas if you don't have trees or well-developed shrubs, you're just going to have a lot of water that's going to end up washing into the lake, and to whatever result that's going to have.
One thing I hope the city does is it when they have their programs underway that they get young people involved.
We're
The
hoping,
young people to help plant and, just
Dig holes.
appreciate trees and all that trees, why trees are so important to us all.
I think that Revitalize Dunkirk can be instrumental in that by working with other civic organizations, working with the Boys and Girls Club, working
Boy
with the
Scouts,
Boy
Girl
Scouts, Girl
Scouts.
Scouts, those kinds
Right.
of things. And, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, there are such things as forestry badges.
That's right,
And
yeah.
there are all those things
Yeah,
that
that-
they can get into. So there's a workforce out
Yep.
there too. Yeah.
Great.
I think one other thing that I think is really kind of important, if we were to remove every single tree in the city of Dunkirk for whatever reason, and then come back and decide that we wanted to replace them all, we would be looking at a $14.5 million
Wow.
bill. Because that is the worth of these
Wow,
trees that
that's
we currently
tremendous.
have, even in the condition that some of them
Yeah.
are.
That's amazing that, I mean, you can put an actual dollar amount
Yeah.
on all that too.
Well,
Right.
there's a lot to our landscape, and we need to maintain the healthy landscape and revisit planting on a regular basis and keep
And
everything healthy.
I think trees just have a general healthy.
They make you feel better.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
There's an aesthetic to having a healthy tree.
I mean, just
It
think,
simply makes the place being more pleasant
if
to be
you think
in.
about our hot, sticky August days, nothing is more comfortable than finding a nice shady tree,
oh yeah.
a hammock, a cool drink, a good book, under a pleasant
There
tree.
you go.
It's heaven.
It is.
Yeah.
It is indeed. I don't know. I think I kind of touched on
Great.
everything. But,
Thank you, Steve, so
Yeah.
much for sharing all your knowledge with us tonight.
well, it's not
And down the
it's not that I
road,
have a lot of knowledge. It's just that I know where to look for the answers.
well, and
Because we talk about being master gardeners, and we're not really. We don't know everything there is to know about gardening, but we can go look stuff up, and we know where to look for it. So,
Yeah, and you probably know a little bit
shouldn't
more about
reveal
gardening
all
than I do.
these secrets. Keep the mystery alive. Thank you very much, Steve, and
My
come back and
pleasure.
visit us again.
I will.
It was
I
a
will.
pleasure.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Hi, we're back. It's Revitalize Dunkirk tonight, and I'm here with Bubbles, and I'm Edna, also known as Jim and Valerie. And we enjoyed having Steve Rees on to talk about the tree management plan, but we're back.
That's right. We're back.
And we're back with friends. Mr. Groundhog, Dunkirk Dave. He had a good day yesterday, enjoyed his pumpkin pie. He's a little sleepy tonight. He's not moving around very much. And his friend is a little white rat because it's the Chinese year of the rat.
Oh,
this
it
year.
is?
Yes.
That's a ratty thing to say.
So we thought we'd have them as our little, what am I trying to say? Mascots.
There we go.
Tonight. So yesterday was Groundhog's Day, and yesterday was also Skeeter Tower's birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Skeeter!
happy birthday,
We
Skeeter!
miss you. We miss you. Come back and visit. Okay, Jim.
Yes,
What
Edna.
do we do in Revitalize Dunkirk that should interest our public viewers?
Well, we get involved within the community.
What's our mission?
Well, our mission is to enhance living in the community, our community, whether it's through like complete streets or whether it's the hanging baskets on Central Avenue, just things that, to enhance and improve Dunkirk. Mm-hmm.
And we sponsor events too, don't we?
Right.
We're going to get to that a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to run through a lot of things tonight, and we won't spend too much time on each topic because we have so much to cover, but we're going to be coming back to visit with you next week.
Right.
So next week we'll spend more time talking about some of these issues. We may have another guest next week. We're working on that. And at the end of tonight's program, I'll mention some of the possible guests we may have on in the future. Why don't we talk about, let's see, last week there was an article in the Observer. You want to speak to that a little bit?
That's right. We had an article done by Mary Rees and submitted to the paper about what Revitalize did in 2019 and what we're planning to do in 2020. Isn't that a nice sounding year, 2020?
Yes, 2020.
But, you know...
Baba Wawa.
Right. But, you know, we're going to continue to do our hanging baskets downtown. That's all fueled by donations by you, the community. We have 55 baskets. We would like to do more, but we've ran out of poles. And also out of, wait for it, Valerie, boots on the ground. we need more people if we're going to plant more baskets. So, but we're going to do our hanging baskets, and then we also are going to do our BYOCs, bring your own chair sunset watches at various locations along the lake here in Dunkirk.
And this year, we have a bonus round.
That's right. We're starting in earlier, and and we're going to have one on the city pier. It's
to showcase our beautiful new pier.
That's right. And there's grass out there now, and I think it'll be a...
You mean grass to sit on?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. But we think it's going to be a great location, and it's going to showcase the new pier. So.
And that'll be coming up in May.
Right.
Our first Bring Your Own Chair Sunset Watch at the end of the pier will be Sunday, May the 24th.
That's right. And
as a matter of fact, the former president of SUNY Fredonia, Dr. Virginia Horvath, she used to come to our sunset watches, and she really enjoyed them, and she recently commented that, you know, when she's back in town this summer, she's going to try to catch one of our sunset watches.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah. It was always nice to have her there. Jim, we also are very involved in the community in various ways. We attend a lot of meetings and events. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we have a few of us Revitalize Dunkirk members that we attend every or just about every council meeting that the city has. Their DPW meetings, economic development meetings, public safety meetings, and it's very interesting to what you find out at all these meetings, because, you know, there's a lot of folks that say, well, you know, this and that and this and that, and you know,
you learn a lot by just attending a meeting.
Right.
You know, instead of hearsay or what you hear through the grapevine or the rumor mill.
Right.
If you go to these meetings, you learn a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can formulate your opinions based on what you've educated yourself with in terms of the kinds of things you've heard yourself.
And there's a bonus round because now I'm getting so familiar with the policemen that are manning the metal detector. As they see me coming up the stairs in City Hall, they know it's me. So it's like, oh, okay, how you doing? So
they make him go through a full body scan.
Yeah, I got to do like at the airports.
They see him coming all right.
But and just so everybody knows, Revitalize Dunkirk is not part of the city
government. No.
Yeah.
We are totally a independent, not-for-profit, all volunteer, grassroots organization.
And we like to work closely with the city. You know, we like to
when it makes sense.
Yeah, we like to be the little birdie in their ear to you know, suggest things.
We advocate for things, and we make suggestions,
and it seems to be working quite well.
It's working very well.
And where do we go from here, Val?
Well, we're also a presence at various community events, so I think that's important also. For example, a number of us went to the luncheon for Martin Luther King Day and at the Clarion. And there were I think, at least 6 Revitalize Dunkirk members that I could see
Yeah,
at
I
that
think
luncheon.
you're pretty close to that number.
So we enjoy getting out there on the hustings and know what's going on with various organizations, and then we support what they're doing.
Right.
So, for example, the Martin Luther King luncheon was supported by or put on by the Juneteenth committee, and some of us have gone to the Juneteenth events and the great soul food that you can find at is it St. John the Episcopal Church
Yes.
on 4th Street?
Yeah.
I know I went last year and I'm planning to go again. I think they do soul food dinners or meals a couple times a year, and so
Yeah.
if you can catch it because the food is excellent.
I have to remember to put it in my
Yeah.
calendar on my phone or
Yeah.
something so I get a buzz.
And last week there was also a program at, pardon me, the SUNY Fredonia Incubator on the Brooks Locomotive organization that was here for a long time and was a major employer and built how many locomotives? Thousands and thousands of steam locomotives. And so many Revitalize Dunkirk people were there to listen to the talk that was given and look at the display, and we encourage everyone to go down.
How long is that display on?
I think through March, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Because it is pretty neat. You see like old maps of the Brooks work.
Yeah,
You see
it was massive. That was a massive
right.
facility.
And just different pieces or memorabilia from the Brooks works. That is pretty interesting. And some pictures by Diane Andrasik too, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty neat. So go check it out.
Check it out for sure. Okay, we're taking a break for our trivia question of the day.
Oh,
Ready? All right, Jim. I want to see if you can do this. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Kosciuszko Club. How do you spell Kosciuszko?
K-O-Z-O.
Okay, you want the answer?
Yeah.
All right. The answer is D-O-G-H-O-U-S-E.
Oh, doghouse.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
So that's our trivia question of the night. Jim, I understand that...
Yes, Edna.
I understand that we are going to try every time we have a show the best we can to have a guest.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guests that we're thinking about are the news, and I'm probably going to get the title of his position incorrect, the new zoning enforcement person.
Right, zoning officer, and
we may have the new Historical Society director here.
Mm-hmm.
We may invite, we know we're going to have the Boys and Girls Club represented here for one of our shows later in the spring. We've been trying to get the Adams men, the men who own and run the Adams, to be here as our guests.
Right.
JCC North, we're hoping to get the executive director of JCC North here.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I forgetting?
trying to remember.
The development office,
This is
so they
true.
can update us on all the projects going on. There are a lot of updates still going on
Oh,
at
yeah.
Point Gratiot and Wright Park.
Yeah.
They can let us know about that. The Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, we've talked about having them on our show. Stell, because all the new housing that's being erected around town, we'd like to know more about that.
Right, because there's a misconception too on that Stell housing, that it's like just more housing here in Dunkirk, and it's a city project, but it is not a city project.
Right.
It is a Stell project.
Well, that's why we want them to explain it, so
Right.
that we can better educate the community and know what's what and who's buying those homes, and how does that all work.
Right.
So we're excited about that one. And also in my notes I see here that, let's see, I'd like to invite James Brown, Jim Brown,
Oh.
Aretha Franklin, Al Franken, Meghan and Harry Markle, and of course, Chuck Schumer.
Oh, of course.
Okay. So,
You know, Chuck is a friend of mine.
is he? I understand he likes to play bocce.
Oh, yes, bocce.
Bocce, bocce, baby.
That's right. Bocce, bocce, baby.
Bocce is not dead. We're still planning to play bocce this year, and we're working on it. We always have bocce at a couple of our sunset watches. We like to have bocce on the beach, and it's been very successful. And we have other things happening during our BYOCs that we started last year. Well, the year before we started bonfires.
That's right.
We had some refreshments, ice cream or something, ice cream cart. So we're trying to attract food carts and vendors.
Because we're always
that
looking
sort
to
of
do a
thing.
little bit different at every Bring Your Own Chair Sunset Watch.
Right.
And this year, hopefully again, we'll have 2 bonfires, one at Wright Park in June and one at the Point Gratiot in September. So we just talked to the city fire department, and they do all the paperwork for the bonfire, and then we get to enjoy it. So we're looking forward to that.
And we're hoping that, you know, maybe we can invite Groundhog Dunkirk Dave to the sunset watches, and though he doesn't like bonfires, so we have to be careful about that.
I guess he just likes pumpkin pie, right?
He loves his pumpkin pie. But anyway, we're going to sign off for tonight because it's been a long evening, and we've certainly covered a lot of ground, and we hope to come back to see you next week. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the production staff here at the TV studio, Cable Access Channel 1301. And this show will air approximately what times during the week?
9 o'clock, I guess, p.m.
9 o'clock p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're also on YouTube, so tell your friends who are out of the area. Again, I know Skeeter's watching. And so this program will air until we hope the next program starts. So thank you for the production people here and our studio audience. There are like 200 people here tonight at least.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Stalkers, audience.
so we're signing off for tonight. Have a good week and be a good neighbor.
That's right. Good night.
Everybody.